Hello and welcome to PocketGamer.biz's weekly news digest. This is for the week ending the 12th of December 2014. I'm John Jordan. So we're getting close to the end of the year. Even in normally rainy Manchester, it's getting colder there. So we're all in our onesies. You can see my lovely onesie here. So, but yeah, so the news. I guess the news kind of cycle is dying down a little bit. People start to go on holidays, as I will be doing next week, in fact. But there's still kind of a few things bubbling under. I mean, there's a kind of interesting as a journalist to kind of covering this period of the year, because there's not a lot going on. We obviously kind of switch focus a little bit, so we're not really waiting for news to come in. We're kind of doing our roundups of the year and kind of getting people to look back on the year and talk about what was interesting from their company's point of view and the games they liked and that kind of stuff. So that's always interesting, and that kind of content will be going live on PocketGamer.biz next week, or starting next week for the next couple of weeks really. A few interesting things to come up, I guess, to a degree, no surprise in the kind of the favourite games of the year. I mean, Hearthstone pretty much up there as the I guess the free to play game. Not necessarily people's favourite game, but Kim Kardashian Hollywood is one that everyone's kind of noting has been massively successful. I'm still playing that. Even didn't know at the start who the Kardashians were, to be perfectly honest, and now I find myself writing news stories about Chloe and Courtney. I don't even know who they are, so there we go. I'll find out when the game's updated in a couple of weeks' time, I suppose. Still kind of interesting how many people kind of, I guess maybe they don't think they know Flappy Bird wasn't released in 2014 but 2013, but anyway, a lot of people are still saying Flappy Bird is the kind of the interesting news of the year. Other games people are obviously highlighting Monument Valley, 80 Days, those kind of paid games are kind of finding their way into people's kind of end of year kind of best ofs. But before we get onto that, there kind of has been kind of trickles of news this week. It's kind of interesting kind of times for people to announce funding news really. You don't really think you would announce kind of funding news coming up to kind of mid-December, but I guess it kind of shows with funding news. It's always interesting to see kind of who's getting funded, particularly if it's kind of what kind of sectors of the industry. So there's one interesting one, a company called PlayRaven, which is a Finnish developer. I guess to a degree, Finnish developers raising money is not a big surprise. So 2014 has been a year when pretty much any Finnish developer who's making a free-to-play game has raised millions of pounds, I mean millions of dollars or euros, whatever. It's actually quite kind of interesting time because we're actually now on the 5th year anniversary of Angry Birds coming out. This doesn't, I guess it depends whether you think 5 years is a long time or not. Obviously, in the 5 years since Angry Birds came out and became a phenomenon 99-cent game, things have changed rapidly, and Rovio is going now through its own kind of restructuring and laying a certain amount of people off, and kind of for them 2014 has been about doing free-to-play games. I guess what's interesting from the point of view of PlayRaven is, I would say, of all the Finnish developers who have raised money this year, and as I say, there's been quite a lot, they're the one who've actually proven that they've doing something a bit different. So a lot of Finnish developers have been technically very good, art style very good, and they were quick to free to play, probably quicker than anyone else in Western Europe and the States. But some of those games have started coming out and not really been successful. So I guess the big one of the year was Supernauts, which is a beautiful looking game, amazing, really interesting kind of Minecraft Habbo Hotel kind of mix up type thing, and just fell flat. Just people didn't get the concept all for whatever reason. But and there's been some other games. So there's kind of some other kind of developers in Finland who've kind of raised a lot of money to come up with free-to-play games that are going to revolutionise stuff. So kind of Boom Lagoon came up with Monster, which is a very nice kind of side-scrolling game, but doesn't really do anything different we haven't seen before, and hasn't really done anything in terms of chart-wise. Similar, Seriously, with Best Fiends, kind of a match-3 game, really quite nice evolution of match-3 gameplay, but hasn't really done anything kind of in terms of top-grossing nature. So you're kind of seeing this kind of interesting where I think for Finland it's been proven itself very good on the business sense, but hasn't necessarily proven itself that it's going to generate the returns that the investors suggest. The exception I think at the moment being PlayRaven, who had a game out this year called Spy Master, which is kind of just a very nice kind of a World War II themed espionage game. Very different. The gameplay is very different. The way it monetizes, because the gameplay is very different in a very kind of light way. So, but it just has got kind of really good critical acclaim, and their CEO Lasse has kind of gone on record a lot about saying how free to play needs to reinvent itself in 2015, and how there needs to be a much more kind of creative mixing of gameplay and monetization, and they actually PlayRaven actually raised €2 million, 2.3 million dollars at the start of the year, and they've raised another 4 million. 4.125, if I'm correct, $1 million at the end of the year. So they've raised about 7 million pretty much during the year. So that'd be interesting to see. I think they're definitely one to look forward to in 2015. The other thing I guess we do is the end of the year comes to an end. We look forward to what's going to happen next year. A few other things quickly to rush through. So other big funding rounds. Actually, a big funding round for Kamcord, which is one of the, I guess, one or two big video replay networks. So the other one is EveryPlay, which was bought by Unity during the year in the summer. Kamcord is kind of, I guess, the US kind of rival to EveryPlay, and they've raised $15 million in their round. Interestingly, most of that round was funded by Gung Ho. So Gung Ho obviously made whatever it is, $1 billion this year off the back of Puzzle and Dragons. So one of the kind of top three mobile franchises of the year. And that company's made a lot of money, and it's kind of, but $15 million is still quite a lot of money to invest into a technology startup. And the whole point of Kamcord, as with EveryPlay, is the kind of idea is that players can kind of record their gameplay moments, kind of things they're proud of skill wise, and then share them so people can go, how I got stuck on this bit of the level, how do you get through it, or what's the best strategy for winning this kind of level in depending on whether it's a card kind of battler or whether it's like a skill game, all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of interesting for community, which is obviously something people care about a lot, and also kind of virality and game discovery. So it's kind of why those kind of companies are getting so much VC money. Talking of Puzzle and Dragons as well, so Gung Ho, massive success in Japan, it's where the majority of its revenue comes. Done pretty well in the US and Western Europe. I think they've done 4 million downloads there. They finally announced it's coming to China. It's kind of interesting. China is obviously a massive market. Probably other commentators suggest 2015 China will be the biggest mobile games market in the world. Potentially $6 billion of revenue. Probably about 4 billion this year. And card collection games, apparently about 35% of the market, at least about a third of the market. So it'd be interesting to see whether Puzzle and Dragons will do well in China. It's obviously taken them a couple of years to get it out in China, and in that meantime, there've been some pretty kind of, I mean, they're not clones, but people who have looked to see that there's no big card kind of collection games in China and made some. So IMMT being the classic one from Loco Joy, and that was the #1 game in China for pretty much all of 2013, made them a lot of money. So maybe the market for those card games has already been kind of filled by local product, or maybe Tencent, being the massive behemoth that it is, they have the muscle in terms of marketing and distribution to get Puzzle and Dragons to be a big hit there as well. So I guess that's kind of a wrap up of kind of funding news this week. And yes, I guess I may see you before Christmas, but if I don't, have a nice Christmas, and I guess we'll see you on the next year. Rules next year, yes. So see you then.